I'm here in what's left of the garden apiary. I just have the two nucs left now, both from autumn splits from larger colonies, which are over at the apiary about 500 metres away. I'm going to check the feed levels in here. Because they're poly nucs, it's often difficult to tell quite how much feed is in these because they're very light anyway. I've put fondant in them previously, particularly this one was very light. It had the largest colony size by far compared to the other one, which was very small colony size, even though this queen mated about 2 weeks after this one here. So we'll open them up and we'll see how they look. I've got 2 tubs of fondant. This is just fondant. There's just a little dribble of poly substitute in here. It's really insubstantial. It's just a bit that fell off of the main slab and it's very liquid, so it's almost melted on top of the pure fondant here. So I'm not too worried about that. It shouldn't cause, I hope, a big increase in brood because of that poly sub that's in there. So let's open it up and have a look. It's about 10 degrees centigrade, that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a high density polystyrene national format nuc from BS Honeybees, as you can see. The beauty about this one is you can actually split it and have it as 2 queen breeding nucs. You've got an entrance at either side, which I plan to do in the summer to replace some of my queens. Shouldn't need too much smoke, but I just got that in case I need to clear the way. So here we go, that's the remnants of fondant that I've put in there before. Nice to work on nucs, isn't it? Don't have that aggression. I think they're aware of their population size. Nice calm bees on what's left of some fondant I fed them 2 weeks ago. Let's have a little look at what's left of that fondant. There's plenty in there. These guys will be fine, or ladies will be fine. This is an ink that was put on to enable enough space to put the fondant in. There is actually a hole in the top of this feeder where you can place fondant over the top, but I just found I didn't know where the cluster was in the box. I wasn't sure that the cluster would be directly under this hole, which is why I got this ink to give me the space that I needed. You can hear them gnawing away on the silver foil in there sometimes. I can see all drawn comb, but just very little stores in that comb, so they're quite reliant upon this fondant right now. Let's cover them up. These have been active throughout much of the winter, which is quite common when you keep your bees in polystyrene hives. And also, it's been such a mild winter. The 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius we're experiencing now has been pretty much the case for the past 2 to 3 weeks, and is expected to continue. That brick is just to hold the strap on, otherwise it stays together itself. So this is the smaller colony in the same format of high density poly nuc box. Only difference being that this one doesn't have an eek. This is a roof, feeder and main 6-frame brood box underneath. This was a lot smaller. going into winter. I was quite concerned about it actually, but in the end this colony has managed to save more stores than the other one because of its smaller cluster size, I assume, and it's much quieter, it's less active, again possibly because of the cluster size. They can't spare the bees to go out and forage. They need as many bees as possible to stay on the brood within the hive. So these have had fondant over the hole purely because I didn't want to add that eek, which adds more space for them to heat. Here I felt it was less of an issue from the cluster being away from the hole in the feeder underneath the fondant, because they have quite a little bit of honey stores in there anyway. Let's just pop this up. It's really quite tightly in there. Don't want to cause any damage. There are some bees in there, I won't squash them. I'll just pop this up to have a little look inside. Just a little squirt because we don't have the room in there that we did in the other one. Let's have a look at that. A lot more bees in there than I previously saw. It's looking good. Frame spacing's a mess. There's a story behind that. A bit of a panic mode when it came to breeding this queen, and I just had frames to hand, threw them in a box, and I didn't have much expectation that they would turn the queen cell that they had into a queen, but they did a really good job. It just meant that the frames are not properly spaced, so the drawn wax is all over the place. Smaller cluster of bees in here. What's that? 2 frames at best that they would cover if they are evenly spread out, but I do know that I can see cap stores in there, which is different to the other colony. I think these will be fine. Just need to ensure they've got sufficient space. At the right time, probably in early March, I'll pop another brood box on top of the same format, and then hopefully they'll draw out all those frames and we'll get to the point where they're on 12 frames and I can move them across into a standard national brood box, ready to really push it this year and see if we can get some decent honey out of them.